what is modern monetary theory?
Yeah, definitely. And of course, it's this whole, body of work that a group of folks have been working on for some decades now. But I think the core of it, where it really starts, is just this fundamental acknowledgement that the federal government or these kind of sovereign governments around the world, so the US, the UK, Switzerland, Canada, Japan, China, South Korea, the list goes on, they're the issuer of their own currency, right? The US issues the US dollar, the UK issues the UK pound, the British pound. And so that's where that currency comes from, right? We call it money. And even the word money, Warren Mosler, kind of the grandfather of MMT, likes to say, don't really try not to use the word money because it's so vague. It almost makes it seem like it's this international phenomenon, that it's almost this natural object that we all go out and find, dig up out of the ground somewhere. But really, no, it is, it has a clear legal meaning in terms of what a currency is and where it comes from and who issues it. And so if you start from, this fairly obvious, I think it's fairly widely agreed upon that the federal government is the issuer of the currency in the US and the UK and elsewhere. If you ask an economist that question, they'll be like, yes, yes, yeah, I got, they're the issuer of the currency. But then following that assumption, well, then what is the national debt, or why is the government having to borrow this thing that they are the sole issuer of, right? Because then those same economists are warning, oh my gosh, the debt to GDP ratio is unsustainable. The debt is growing to this unsustainable level. There's terrible things are going to happen. We might go bankrupt or default, or interest rates will spike because investors, right, are going to demand higher interest rates because they think the government might go bankrupt, right? That's the risk. But how, again, going back to that first premise, that first assumption, if the government's the issuer of that currency, how could they run out or go bankrupt? So it's that very fundamental conundrum that I think uh, is really where you have to start, where MMT starts, and I think where the divergence starts between MMT and mainstream economics, right? So it seems, very simple in a way, and yet there's a lot of implications if you actually take that assumption seriously, I think. And I think that's the difference, that mainstream
Mm.
economists, they'll admit it, but then they kind of put it away, and their textbooks aren't built upon that assumption.